what is a passport bro?
So the passport bro phenomenon, it's funny because a lot of people, think this is like a new concept. That effectively
people are just catching up to us.
Yeah, passport bro is a term, maybe some might even call it like a derogatory term or a slang. I don't really know. Yeah. That refers to a guy who has decided to go abroad for his dating life or his love life. And I think it's like the origin is a term like for I think it was for black guys originally who were going to like
Brazil.
Or what was the other one? Dominican Republic or something. They called it
Dominican Republic. Yeah.
It's basically a term for.
Have you been to Dominican Republic?
No, but I've seen videos of I've seen like 4K walk around videos.
I'm not a big fan. I don't want to go.
A lot of big booty chocolate queens walking around. But yeah, passport bro is a term for a guy who's traveling, who's decided to effectively like pursue his love life in other countries. Right now, by definition, we've been kind of passport bros before there were passport bros.
Right.
So my first time boarding an international flight was 2012, and I was in Osaka. And once I started meeting girls in other countries, it's funny because
do you know when you left in 2012? What month?
I don't know. I know it was around near December because it was cold.
I left in November 4th, 2012.
Yeah, so we were probably like a couple months apart.
That's wild.
Man. Yeah, because I remember arriving and having to buy jackets and stuff.
Oh wow,
so it must be cold.
November 4th, 2012. That's when I left America.
But most men have a concept of dating based on like their 100-mile radius. Like, oh, I'm in Nebraska or I'm in Bakersfield, California.
Right.
And they don't really have any sense of comparison. Right. It's like if you were to go to an ice cream store and it's like just vanilla.
Right.
You don't really have a sense. Now, once you start to date in other cities, you'll get a comparison. But now when you date in other countries, the differences get really drastic. And then you can start comparing countries. Now, once you find a way to finance your international like nomad lifestyle, now you can really just live wherever you think makes you happiest. And let's be honest, if you're a young guy, women and dating in your social life is a huge part of what makes you happy.
Right.
So once you kind of know, holy crap, wait, there's a menu. Hold on, I live on a planet, not a country.
Right.
Then now you can really just start to live wherever you feel like you're treated best, or wherever you feel like the women of your choosing are. If you really like, I don't know,
Asian women.
Yeah, if you like Asian women, you go to Asia. If you want to go to the Dominican Republic or whatever, Brazil, whatever you want to do, right? And this is all connected to like this sense of freedom. And once you experience other cultures, you'll realize quickly that there's a lot of rules in your head that are fake.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, in fact, I even argue that a lot of game is just men adapting to a broken society, right? So much of the game stuff, like for example, like don't double text, wait 3 days to text her.
It's retarded.
That's advice that makes sense when you're in a country of women that hate you.
Yeah.
And like you have 2 leads. That makes perfect sense. But when you go to other places where maybe the population is bigger or the number of women who are not fat is like not 60%, suddenly like all these weird rules and all these games that you've learned, you actually don't even deploy them ever.
Yeah.
So this is something that, I call it being passport pilled.
Yeah.
It's kind of like another way of phrasing it, but what I would say is passport bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think passport bros get a bad rep, but men are problem solvers. And, in today's day and age, like we have choice, we have freedom. The strongest thing you have as a guy who lives in the West is access to your currency. And you can do currency arbitrage, which is basically, using your money in other countries for a fraction of the cost. Like here, man, it just blows my mind how you could just like take like the equivalent of Uber up and down the road for like $2, $3.
Our personal trainer at the gym is $13 an hour.
Yeah.
Per session, right?
Yeah.
And Other places it's like $100 an hour.
I pay $100 an hour in Tokyo.
Yeah, in Vegas it's $150 an hour at some gyms. So for one session in Vegas, I could get almost, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of training.
Yeah.
So
Pre-workout. I mean, everything here is just so much cheaper. And a lot of people think too that when you come to these countries, you're like in some third world hole. And the world, I mean, unless you go to like some places in like the Saharan Africa or like, like India, places that are like massive amounts of poverty, you're going to experience that. But like these other places we've been going around the world to, man, I mean, even in Korea, like the Korean won is so weak. Everything in Korea is so cheap. And the dollar right now is soaring. So there's so many opportunities you guys have. And then there's just so many places you can go and women you can meet. Like for me, excuse me, guys. For me, the biggest thing I like about traveling is that there's such an abundance of women here. It kind of like takes a mental strain off of you. Like, like, oh, like there's just like you live in abundance because like there's beautiful women literally everywhere. So like it's not fiercely competitive because when you go back to the States too, right? Listen, the bottom line about America is fat women have ruined the dating market. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just gotta keep it 1,000 because when you have 70% of the American female population is either overweight or obese, that means you have literally 100% of the guys going for 30% of the entire marketplace. And what that does is limited supply. And so the demand goes up. And when demand goes up, the price of them goes up. That's why American Women's Standards is just insane. Because a girl who's like a 6 in Tokyo, right? She'll be like an 8 in Florida because there's a 300-pound Walmart golem around the corner, like waiting to fucking snarl at you if you try to approach her. She gets this inflated sense of ego, and it's like fat girl inflation. Like girls, the more and more women that are fatter and uglier, like the women that are just average looking but not fat, their value goes up, and it just fucks up everything.
Yeah. In addition to that, the United States specifically has like the highest concentration of some like all the celebrities and a lot of the richest people in the world. So, when you have a very artificially limited supply of dateable women, and also the marketplace is the most competitive where the customers have the biggest budgets. I mean, it's like a bunch of billionaires like bidding on a painting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, that's why, there's all these theories as to why there's all these stats coming out about like 1/3 of men haven't had sex in like 2 years. Or I don't. You're probably more familiar.
No, it's 1/3 of men age 30 or below have had either zero sexual experience or no sexual contact in over a year.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that stat is mostly U.S., not any other country. I don't know.
I think it's in the United States. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, a lot of these stats come out of countries like this, where it's basically a broken dating culture where the supply and demand is all messed up, right? And when you get a passport, when you travel, and when you realize, like, wait a second, I actually have the whole world potentially at my fingertips, like that problem just goes away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?